it here. Okay. No, I'm already speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, we are already 4 minutes behind the schedule, so if you will allow me, I will introduce the two speakers in this session. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so welcome to our third session, Personalized Medicine, dealing with international examples of translational success. I will introduce my first speaker, Mr. Yoram Chatier, the head of the research project of medical conditions on adolescents and working for the Israel Institute of Technology. Mr. Chatier is an MSc, a physician and researcher in the fields of epidemiology, public health and quality in healthcare, founder and head of medical quality control of recruitment centers at the Israel Defense Forces. His research established the first carotenoid isomer database in food items and was the first to examine associations between dietary carotenoids intake and colorectal cancer risk. Mr. Chatier, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to you all, and thank you for coming. I hope I won't bore you and try to be a little bit more clinical than my predecessors. So we're talking about medical conditions in adolescents, from epidemiological trends to a nationwide health project of disease risk reduction. So let me explain just in a few words what we mean. We mean that we take a screening process that is well established among the adolescents of Israel, which is carried out at the medical committees of IDF, and we try to improve the quality of the medical diagnosis and try to learn about the medical conditions of the adolescents using tools developed by the quality assurance and epidemiological tools. Then we go to the collaboration between the structures, the medical structures that there are, and try to show how this collaboration can result in a nationwide project of prevention and reducing of morbidity and mortality among the group of these people. So let me just go over the process just to explain the screening process. It usually starts with acquiring documents and preliminary medical information from the family physicians of the different HMOs. And after that, there are basic measurements which are carried out by technical medical staff, which include height, will include weight, blood pressure, pulse, visual acuity, also not here, but color vision, and urinalysis by dipstick. After that, the recruit is examined by a physician at a medical committee who will take a systematic anamnesis, will be very thorough about the history, the habits, the psychology, and will go over the questions of a very systematic anamnesis and complete a physical examination. The results could be further investigations as shown here, and then the results come in back, and finally we determine the medical status, which is a medical profile and functional classification codes. These are similar to the ICD coding, with a difference that they also have some occupational indicators, okay? So, 15 years ago, we established a quality assurance and control system. The goal was to access the whole process and to try to improve the performance and to achieve a more uniform and professional medical process at recruitment centers. Now, we access the medical committee staff, the administrative medical personnel, the recruits. We also access the medical equipment, conditions, computer-based assessment. The computer-based assessment is actually data mining from a computerized database that contains the data about the different diagnoses that are coded by the functional classification codes, as I showed you before, plus the basic measurements I showed you. So we do this by observation of the work. We do it by sampling and re-examining some of the people, of course, after obtaining informed consent. And we do it by questionnaires, medical files that we examine, and data mining, as I told you. During the years, what we found are different problems in the process, some of them inadequacies in anamnesis quality, problems with physical examination, errors in decision-making, and other local administrative procedures, and problems with the equipment. All these can affect the final outcome of determining the medical condition of the person that is being examined. So this quality assurance system is not just about trying to see the outcomes, but also trying to intervene and trying to change the clinical skills of the physicians and the involved staff around the physicians. So we do it by lectures and instructions. We do it by training at a simulation center. We do it by writing manuals where we explain to all the technical and also the medical staff the importance of different things. We actually engage in medical education. You'll be surprised, but some of us, after many years in the field or specializing in a certain narrow field, forget about certain clinical skills that are important. Okay? We also renew medical equipment, and we write reports. Then we measure once again, and we see the professional performance is better, and the working environment got better, and the working platform became more uniform. Okay, the process itself for the adolescents is a junction that actually gives us the opportunity to determine the medical condition of this population and to try to see what risk factors can affect present and future morbidity and mortality. So I'm going to show you a pilot study that we did, and it includes more than 105,000 adolescents. You can see the division between males and females, all 16 to 19 years old, all were born between 1971 and 1992, and we analyzed only those years that included more than 1,000 people per gender per year. And all have basic measurement and completed the whole process. All from one recruitment center with a very high score in validity. Okay, the goals were to see the trends over the years of the medical condition and to access risk factors. This is an ongoing project, an ongoing effort, and I'm going to show you a few things. First of all, we're going to look at the main medical conditions affecting the young population in Israel. These are, not surprisingly, I think over the world the same. We have overweight, obesity, underweight, asthma and allergic conditions, cardiac anomalies, hypertension, which is rising, and still more rising is pre-hypertension, isolated hematuria, proteinuria. We have urological conditions such as varicocele hydrocele, about 6% of the population, of the young male population, learning disabilities, ADD, ADHD, chronic headache, psychiatric disorders, including psychosis, including depression, including neurosis, and also including personality disorders, PDD, and mental retardation. Malignancy, I'll show you a slide later what happens with malignancy as we see now, spinal deformation, chronic back pain, knee joint deformations, and foot deformities, refractive errors, color vision defects, all these are being studied currently. There are also neurological abnormalities, and we have the ear problems with hearing loss, inflammatory bowel disease, all the gastroenterology, and we have diabetes mellitus type 1, although we do see more often today diabetes type 2. And the other things, we have also anemias, various anemias, multiple nevi, we have connective tissue disorders, acne, psoriasis, and we have Hashimoto thyroiditis. Look at what happens to the BMI. So the average BMI rises, but it doesn't look that terrible. But when we look at the normal BMI, we see a sharp decrease in both genders. And this is how the overweight looks in both genders. And this is how obesity looks. Now, there is another thing that we see mainly among females. We see an increase of underweight, which we attribute right now, and it's in a study, so I can't elaborate too much, but one of the things that we think affect this is the body image and the whole thing of being thin and beautiful, so on and so forth. This is one of the problems that we see. Eating disorders are on the rise among the young females. We don't see it in the male population. Okay, when we stratify the data, we can find other things also that reveal novel risk factors. I won't speak about that because that will require another presentation, and you're all tired and I won't take your time. So, as I said before, one way that we work is we mine the data from the computerized medical database, and then we look at discrepancies, and we try to understand what's going on. This is one of the interesting findings that we saw for, this is only 10 years, but we seem to have an increase of prevalence of solid tumors. And when we look at congenital heart disease, there is also an increase, and I won't attribute it to the better diagnostic procedures because we used echo with a very high resolution back even in 1999, but there could be other things. One of the things that I suspect could be is that actually when you look during the years, you find that small children and those who were born premature, 400 grams, 500 grams, 600 grams, today they actually achieve adolescence, many of them, and some of them may have or may not have more cardiac anomalies, which we're looking at now at another phase that we're going to look at birth weight and gestational age. Okay, from what I said, we do understand that we need a nationwide intervention program to reduce morbidity and future illness and mortality. Now, the benefits of taking this database and this junction that we have is that we can identify important trends, and we can do it by using the tools we developed. Then we can share today information with the civilian medical systems, and we can complete communication with the various medical systems. The future view is one medical file for the lifetime of a person. So I will show you how it looked before. This is the medical committee and the quality assurance control system. This is the Ministry of Health that was reporting psychiatric hospitalizations. Ministry of Social Affairs was reporting to us mentally retarded people. Now, the HMOs were reporting sometimes, but not electronically. And now we do have the National Insurance reporting also the handicaps, and the National Cancer Registry reporting prevalence of malignant disease. So what we would like to achieve and what we're doing right now is exchanging information. Okay, I'll just show you two pilots, one of them with the largest HMO in Israel, and we selected 4 primary clinics. And the other one is the project of information sharing with the Israeli National Cancer Registry. What you can see is that once you get the information computerized, you get more information, a higher percentage of cases that we can get information about. You can also see that once we get information through the computer, you do have more medical findings. Now, it works both ways. We do find a lot of problems, a lot of medical conditions during the screening at the recruitment centers, because there is no such thing that people come in for a usual screen from top to bottom every 2 years or 3 years. I don't know how it is in all countries, but I believe in many places it's the same. The GP sees you if you have a problem. So this is what we found out from the information from the ICR, the Israeli Cancer Registry. Not surprisingly, what we can see is that main malignancies among males and females are brain tumors and hematological malignancies, although there are also other malignancies. Now, I didn't put a slide here, but I can tell you that after exchanging the information, we did find we did subtract the 5 or 6 persons that we got information about them that looked suspicious. So we rechecked it with the Israel Cancer Registry, and as it turns out to be, the information was wrong. So we had a girl that was diagnosed at 12 years old as having breast cancer, and of course, when people looked again into the medical records, they found out that actually what got mixed up was the identity number, and what happened is that we talk about a woman that is 69 years old. So this is our little contribution to the ICR and improving the quality of their data, okay? And this is also one way to clean up databases that report to us by sharing the information and taking strange cases that do not look like things that should be at that age group, and try to understand what's going on. Okay, this is how we see the process. You start with the screening. You do what you can to improve the quality of that screening. From that improved database, you mine data, you take epidemiological data, and you find subgroups that you can take and then intervene and try to do something together with the caring physicians and with the other structures, medical structures, in order to improve the health status. Future prospects that we're thinking about. First of all, as I told you before, sharing findings with the HMO allows targeting specific health issues by prevention and early detection, influencing future outcomes. I would like to see, and it still wasn't done, but we're on a way to do it, that will have certain indicators such as BMI, blood pressure, lipid profile, glucose levels, hemoglobin A1C, physical activity, habits, And we do re-examine the persons at certain intervals, and we do conduct thorough education, medical education, and we do things to intervene and to encourage them to engage in a healthier lifestyle, so we get better results. The other thing is, which is done now on a patchy level, that is, we do it and we obtain information of a certain percentage of recruits after informed consent, is obtaining buccal smears for genetic analysis, for providing later personalized medicine, and providing the chance also to get this. I don't know how many of you saw it and how things look in other countries, but in Israel, we do have the problem of every young couple wants to know everything about if they are carrying certain genes, recessive genes, or autosomal dominant genes, or anything else that could affect the offsprings. And now it costs a lot of money. Now, if we take a mass screening that could be much cheaper, maybe we can also offer it as a service without money, and providing they take care of their health, okay? So this is what I wanted to tell you, and I want to thank you. This is just to show you that the average height didn't change, and there are changes in average weight, but they are not so dramatic. Thank you very much.